You are welcome back to the science class. As you can see today on the screen, we are going to part 2 of our lesson, and quickly we go to the objective of today's lesson. Our objective today says to discover evidences to support the continental drift hypothesis. I told you guys that I'm going to bring back the evidences to you. Evidences. I know maybe you might be having some difficulties with some of the words you have here. Let me go quickly over them. Evidences. Evidences are like proofs, the facts that we have to show for something. So we have some proofs, some evidences, some facts that support the continental drift hypothesis. You can remember that in the previous lesson, I mentioned about the continental drift theory or hypothesis. Drift, the word drift, it's like a slow shifting apart, a slow moving away from one place to another. That's the meaning of the word drift. Now, the word hypothesis is a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidences in the course of an investigation or findings. Especially in science, we use the word hypothesis. So it's a proposed explanation that is made regarding something, having some evidences to prove. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at the evidences, the proofs, the facts that support the continental drift hypothesis. You recall the Pangaea, well, we talked about it in the last lesson, the supercontinent, when all the continents of the earth are combined together. And you recall that these state of the earth was about 200 million years ago, when all the present-day continents combined to form a single supercontinent called Pangaea. We talked about this in the last lesson. I'm just trying to refresh your mind from where we stopped last time. Now, here we start off with the evidences. Now, you can see here, at this point, this is still at the stage when the earth is a supercontinent, the Pangaea, when we have all of the continents combined together. Here you can see the fossils. You can see the fossils of different organisms are represented with different colors on this image I have here. You still remember what are fossils? You should. We talked about that in term 2. Fossils are remains of dead organisms buried beneath the surface of the earth. I'll say it again. Fossils, that's this word here. They are remains of dead organisms that are buried underneath the surface of the earth. Now you can see that each of these fossils, the remains of these fossils located underneath the surface of the earth, cut across the various continents of the earth when they were all combined together. For example, if we take example of this organism, the fossil evidence of the Triassic land reptile, the Lythrosaurus. Now you see is in the slide I have here is represented with the brown color. You can see it's cut across Africa, India, Antarctica. So this is how it was when all the continents were combined together. We have many of them here. We have the Cyanognathus. Don't bother about the names of the organisms. What we want to find out here is one of the evidences about the matching fossils. This, I will come back to explain that. Now, think of this when the earth, the continents were still combined together, and all of these fossils are located beneath the surface of the earth at each of the continents. Now, when the drifting started, when the continents starts to drift apart, to slowly move away from each other, remember that these fossils were buried underneath. So, the part of the fossils that are located in each of the continents went along with the continental plate as the continents were moving apart. Let's use South America and Africa as an example. You can see the orange color here represents the fossils that are buried underneath. Now, the fossils that are located in South America were drifted apart alongside with the plate when it was shifting, and the ones there in Africa, the same type of organism, the same fossils of the same organism, were also moving apart with Africa. So when scientists begin to search, they discover that there are matching fossils in the different places of the earth, different continents of the earth. So this tells us that actually there was a time when the globe, the continents were all combined together. So when we talk about the evidences, we have about 4 to 5 of the evidences. We're going to look at them one by one. I hope you remember this slide from the last lesson. We talked about it when we explained the different phases or the shapes that the Earth took over millions of years. Now, quickly, let's go to the continental, the supporting evidences for the continental drift theory or continental drift hypothesis. Now, we have about 4 or 5 of them I told us before. Let's start with the first one, continental. I've explained about the matching fossils. That's what we have here. The fossils that are located, similar fossils, the same fossils of remains of the same organisms found across different continents because they were once combined together. Now, the second one is the continental puzzle. What it's all about? I hope every one of us, you know what a puzzle is. A puzzle, we all know what a puzzle is. A puzzle is like something like this. You always have, yeah, this is a puzzle. Now, in this puzzle, we have some pieces of them that we can remove. And when you remove any of these ones from the puzzle, it leaves a space there. And if you want to fill back that space, it means you have to bring back the same puzzle that fits in the shape where you have removed. If you bring a different one, it cannot. So when you put all of them together, you have it like big this way. So when we talk about the continents, right from here, when it was all merged together. Now looking at it now, when they have drifted apart from each other, the Earth is like a giant puzzle that can be combined together. Yani you see the matching coastlines of this continent, even though they have drifted apart, even though they have moved away from each other, yet if there is any possibility of bringing them together again, they can still fit because the matching coastline capacities are still there. Take for example, South America can fit in here because this is from where it moved away from. So this is one of the evidences. This is the main evidence we have in the continental drift hypothesis, the continental puzzle, when we see that all the continents can be fixed together into a giant puzzle. Now, the next one is the rock types and the rock structures. We are going to see scientists have tested rocks in different continents, and they discovered that in most of the continents, there are similarities in the rock structure, in the structure of the rocks and the rock types that we have all over the different continents. So that is another good evidence that we have. And again, the last one I have here, that is not the only one, is the ancient climates, where we see similar repetition of climatic changes in different places on Earth. So that is some of the evidences. Don't bother to write. I will let you know what to write and where to write. So that is the evidence. These are the evidences that we have. The continental puzzle, the matching fossils, like we explained from the slide here. We have the matching fossils here. We have the continental puzzle. When we look at it from here and we compare it here, we see it can still be fit together. We have the rock structure and the mountain ranges, similar mountain ranges that we have in different continents. Now, in page 7 in your science book, unit 2, you will see that we have an activity we should do. We cannot do that activity. The most important thing in today's lesson, like our objective says, is to understand or to identify, to discover these evidences that we can say or we can discuss together concerning the continental drift hypothesis. Now, I've tried to make like a summary of them here. The most obvious evidence or the most important evidence is the fact that the continents appear to fit together like giant piece of a puzzle. I've explained that using when I showed you the puzzle map there. So this is the basic evidence. Other ones are the ones I've explained also, the mountain ranges, similar types of mountains seen in the different continents, and similar rock formation. We're going to see the video, the rock formation that the scientists have tested. We also saw the matching fossils, similar fossils located in different continents, and also we have the glacier features. So these are the evidences. You are going to take your copybook, write down the objective, and write down this point in your copybook. So quickly now, before we end the lesson, let's start to watch the video to see what we have. I think the video is not playing. Just 1 minute.
So in total, there are 5 points that provides a strong evidence that the continental drift theory is real. The first evidence says the matching of continents, that is the jigsaw fit. You know what is a jigsaw puzzle, right? A big picture is cut into various pieces of different shapes that have to be fitted together. Similarly, if you look at the shorelines of Africa and South America facing each other, and if I bring them together, they are a good match. This fit of the Atlantic margin was presented by Edward Bullard in 1964. So this forms the first evidence in support of the continental drift theory. The second evidence shows the rocks of same age across the oceans. Scientists around the globe have tested rocks at various places by a method called radiometric dating. Radiometric dating is a technique used to date materials such as rocks or carbon. So after using this technique, they came to a conclusion that all the rocks from different continents have a correlation. For example, the belt of ancient rocks of 2000 million years from Brazil coast matches with those from Western Africa. Then it also suggests that the marine deposits in the region is from the Jurassic era. Jurassic era is the second phase of Mesozoic era, where the reptiles rule the continents. And this forms the second evidence in support of the continental drift theory. The third evidence is delight. Evidence is placer deposits. Placer deposits is an accumulation of valuable minerals like gold, diamond, etc. If you look at Ghana, the Ghana coast is rich in placer deposits of gold. Usually gold is extracted from rocks, but here in Ghana, your gold is found in placer deposits and not in rocks, which is kind of an amazing fact. And if you go to Brazil, the same gold placer deposits are available there as well. Therefore, it is obvious that gold deposits of the Ghana are derived from Brazil Plateau when the two continents lay side by side. And this forms another evidence that supports the continental drift theory. The fifth and the last evidence is distribution of fossils. When identical species of plants and animals are found in different land masses, that provides a strong evidence that everything once upon a time was a single large landmass. Lemur is one such species that is very famous in Madagascar. Now, fossils of this species was also found in India. Though it is said that lemurs originated in Africa, linking these three land masses, you can easily see there is a correlation. Similarly, Mesosaurus is a reptile. It is an extinct species. It is no more available. So, skeleton of this reptile has been found in regions of Southern Africa and South America. Again, it is reinforcing the fact that these two continents were once linked together. So, these were all the evidence that speaks in favor of the continental drift theory suggested by Alfred Wegener. These are some notable facts, and one must broadly remember them in order to understand the origin of continents and oceans, and how it led to the adaptation of animal and plant species, which today is the main reason behind diversity of life. If you want to see more of such educational content, make sure you subscribe.
Okay, so that's it. From the video and from what we've explained, you'll be able to discover, you've discovered the evidences that support the continental drift theory. Quickly, we go to the plenary. You have to find out, or you have to write out by yourself one of the evidences that you have understood. We have about 5 of them, and make sure you write down this in your copybook. Thank you so much, and see you in the next lesson.